of the Jenks Planning Commission for Thursday, October the 8th, 2020. We'll start with a roll call.
John Davis.
Here.
Greg Coleman.
Here.
Travis Wilkerson.
Here.
David Randolph.
Here.
John Brown.
Here.
Greg Linden. Scott West.
Here. All right. We have a request to approve the minutes of our September 17th, 2020 meeting.
So moved.
I'll second it, Craig Bowman.
Let's vote, please.
John Davis.
Yes.
Greg Coleman.
Yes.
Travis Wilkerson.
Yes.
David Randolph.
Yes.
John Brown.
Abstain.
Scott West.
Yes. First item of business is ARC 20-494, a request by Electron Branding Solutions for approval of a projecting wall sign, general location 121 East Main Street. Marseille?
Thank you, Commissioner West. This item is brought to you by Tedford Insurance. They are requesting a sign on the corner of their building. They have a couple of lots, and their building actually changes as it transitions. The initial application was revised a little bit for staff comment. If you look on page 5 of the agenda packet, it talks a little bit about the sign, talks about the lot, etc. When this went to ARC on September 22nd, 2020, I tried something new. Sometimes we have a virtual meeting, other times I just send out an email and ask for a response. This time, I didn't feel like there were any huge looming issues on this one, but I wanted to go ahead and give them the opportunity to be more specific. So I gave them 3 approval options. I asked them to please review the sign request and then either vote by saying number 1, which is approve as presented, including the interior lighting of the sign, noting within the theme district that is discouraged. Approve as number 2, approve design and size, but not interior light, or 3, reject the design. And then you see at the bottom of the page, the vote that came forward. We had Mr. Greg Helms did vote for item number 2, which was approve the sign, but not the lighting. However, that the overall vote was approve as submitted with the interior light. I personally felt like it was a nice looking sign. I like it when they hang them from the building. I think that it's nice for a walkable street. And I just liked it all around. Thought it was a good looking sign. I did not have any problem personally with the lighting of the sign on the interior. One of our members of the ARC, Ms. J.C. Kearns, said that she liked the sign and she wondered why, in general, we had it in our code that we would impose additional lighting, thinking that it was actually helpful for the street. So I answered as best I could, but really didn't know. It was just a guess, to say the least. So if you look on page 7, I did some Google screenshots where you see the actual building. You see it's kind of curved there at the corner. If you look on page 8, it shows you the actual lot that we're talking about, because he owns the 2 lots, or the lot adjacent, but it's just this particular spot. Then you see what the special theme district map looks like. Then a little aerial view. The next on page, what page is this? I believe it's on page 10, we actually get the first peek at the sign. So pretty traditional in style and font. The colors kind of match the colors of the school a little bit. On page 11, you see kind of a rendering with where they've inserted the sign on the wall and what that might look and feel like. At this time, staff and the ARC do recommend approval of this sign. If you have any questions, the applicant is present to answer those questions, and they are representing Electron Signs.
Any questions from the commission? Discussion?
Just briefly wanted to bring up, Marseille, you and I talked briefly about backlighting, and you pointed out how it's discouraged generally. And I asked, well, why is that? Because this sign seems fine to me. And I think the concern is more just stray light or glare, or if it's a lot of lit stuff, like a Baskin Robbins type, appearance. This sign does none of that. So, I don't have a problem with it. I think it, in fact, looks nice. We've got other similar signs around, like the Silverwood Dental, a little bit west on Main Street, and then right there, the string lights as well, of course. So, I just thought I'd point that out since our ARC code says it's discouraged, but that doesn't mean we can't do it.
That is correct. And I'd say, per that conversation, I have started just kind of doing some Google image searches. And I think I'd like to present those in the future before we update our Unified Development Ordinance, just to have a broader conversation about what does signage in the downtown look like now? What do we want it to look like? And more so than what we don't want it to look like. I think it's important to have an idea of the direction we want to go. So I'll try to get some information together for you guys. I'll probably send it out via email. And then if you want to have a public conversation, I'm certainly happy to do that as well.
Any other questions? All right, I'll go ahead and open the floor. Does the applicant wish to speak on this, or just here to answer potential questions?
Just if you had questions, they're available to answer them.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this item?
Nope, we have the applicant, myself, and Brandon. That is all.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and close the floor then, and the chair will entertain a motion on agenda item number 1.
I make a motion to approve ARC 20-494. Craig Bowman.
I'll second it, Leon Davis.
All right, let's vote, please.
Leon Davis,
Yes.
Craig Bowman,
Yes.
Travis Wilkerson,
Yes.
David Randolph,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Scott West.
I'm going to vote yes and add, just as a point of potential interest, that this building with the curved front where the sign is being attached, when I was a kid, was City Hall, until the new City Hall was built, I think, in the late 80s. All right, business item number 2, JL 20-348, is a request by Wallace Engineering for a lot split, general location West Main Street and South Gateway Place. Marseille.
Thank you, Commissioner West. This item is just the nuts and bolts. The plat has already been filed, the PUD has been approved, then it was amended and also approved again. And ARC has approved the overall site plan. There still are some conditions. I've had internal conversations making sure that they are in compliance, and we will continue to do so up until they get their certificate of occupancy. So with all that being said, Technical Advisory Committee had no comments on this lot split. Staff does recommend approval of the lot split for Gateway Bank.
All right, any discussions or questions? Okay, we'll open the floor. Marseille is the applicant. Wishing to speak on this or present?
You know, I do not think there's anyone here representing Gateway Bank.
Okay.
This is Jim Beach, Wallace Engineering. I'm the applicant.
Sorry.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Jim.
No, we're fully in agreement with staff recommendation.
All right, thank you, Jim. Any questions for Mr. Beach?
Not a question, but can I just note something for the record? Earlier, I had recused myself because our firm represented Gateway First Bank, but the attorney that does that work has since gone in-house, so I don't have a conflict anymore. So if anyone's wondering, I plan to vote.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go ahead and close the floor. And Marseille, I assume that we have Mr. Beach's address for the record.
I'll give it to you. It's 123 North Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Tulsa.
All righty, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion on agenda item 2?
I make a motion to approve JL 20-348. Craig Bowman.
John Brown, second.
Leon Davis,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Travis Wilkerson,
Yes.
David Randolph,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Scott West.
Yes. Item number 3 is a request to approve meeting schedule and times starting in January of 2021.
Thank you, Commissioner West. This is an item that we talked about last time, moving the meetings to once a month. We did a survey of the surrounding communities. We are the only community of our size that meets one time or twice a month. We've talked to some of the developers in the community. They felt like it was fine as long as they understand what the deadlines are. They can work within those deadlines. We also we can always be flexible if we need to add a special hearing. I know it's an inconvenience for the planning commissioners, but if there was something really pressing, I think we could all find a way to come together and have a special hearing. So the calendar before you, that's part of your packet, starting on page 24, just shows where you would be. So we kept it the first Thursday following city council. So that's your normal scheduled hearing date. And then at this time, we are not scheduling regular hearings on the third Thursday of following city council. So with that being said, if you have any questions or concerns, I'm happy to take those now. Otherwise, I believe that we will need you to vote to approve this calendar, and then at that point, it will be published for state statute.
Marseille, just a protocol question on process. And I like the schedule. I appreciate that. If we do have a need that comes up for a second meeting interim wise, is that notification then going to be by phone, by email, or will we have a default date that we go back to if we need that?
That's a good question, and I would leave that up to you all. It will definitely be by phone. It will definitely be by email, but I would probably personally just lean towards that third Thursday as the kind of the standard for if we had a special hearing. But at the same time, it could be a different night if you also chose. We have court one night, and we have Board of Adjustment also. So we do have to work around those schedules.
How will we decide when a special meeting is necessary, and how does notice go out to the community of those meetings?
The notice is exactly the same. We have to post the agenda 48 hours in advance rather than the normal 24 for a special meeting.
You have to post a notice of the special meeting 48 hours.
You have to post in, so I have to tell the public 48 hours in advance that we're going to have a hearing. But you all would know well ahead of that. You would probably know if, so it's a little bit different because if it was a public hearing for a PUD or a zone change, that has different requirements. But I'm going to say minimum, you'll probably have 3 weeks notice.
And then what if we make this change and then we get into the course of the year and we realize that it's not working, we need to go to twice a month? Do we have the capacity to make that change permanently, or is this vote, or is each additional meeting we're going to have to do a special meeting? If that makes sense.
You do have the authority to do that, but excuse me, the calendar is supposed to be approved prior to the year. So I think what we would do is maybe have another discussion and say we all agree that on the third Thursday, we'll go back to having meetings again, but from our end, we would just follow the special meeting guideline
I got you.
for posting.
Because, I mean, state law would prohibit us from making that change and then having that serve as notice, I assume, to the community that the meetings are being scheduled. Or-
Just to add on the notice point, if it does turn out that we need a special meeting, and I think I don't want this, commission to slow things down. So if it turns out we need one, I think we should give as much notice as possible to the community, even though we're only required to give, I think it's 2 business days under the Open Meeting Act. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, we would still, like I said, if it's a zoning case, there's a minimum of 15 days. So they would still have to meet those state deadlines regardless. So generally what happens, I don't know if we've never scheduled a special meeting. We did for Board of Adjustment, but not for the Planning Commission. So generally what I'll end up doing is call the chair and find out if they're available on X date. And then I'll go through the list and call all the other commissioners or I'll send out an email and say, hey, are you available on this date? And then so that I know we have quorum, because I'm not going to set up a special hearing if I don't have quorum. So if 3 of you or 4 of you are out of town that week, then we're going to or at least on that Thursday, then I'm going to say, how about Wednesday? And we're going to go through the list until we can get that date set. And then I still have to meet all the legal deadlines for the sign, the mailings, and the newspaper. So it's a little bit tricky, but we've done it in other municipalities. It happens. It's not a big deal.
I think the one, I mean, I don't mind the change. I think the one concern I would have is that I think just from an appearance standpoint, I don't think we want the community to feel like we are scheduling special meetings to pass through items that, they might otherwise be concerned about or wanted to have raised concerns about. And so I think that's the key. I think we need to make sure that there's true reason that we need a special meeting, and certainly not anything that we feel like might be controversial within the community.
No, I totally agree. I think generally speaking, the applicants normally do not have any problem there. It's rare. We're talking about 2 weeks difference from what they're used to. So it's not really, in the whole big scheme of things, it's rarely a big issue. Like even recently, sometimes even with 2 weeks, they can't necessarily make their deadline. Maybe they were going to close on a certain date or something, and so they have to do an extension because even with that 2 week window. So that's usually the biggest issue that I've seen with developers is they have set a closing date pending approval of their zoning. And because of that, I could see someone asking for a special hearing. But for the most part, they're going to, generally speaking, they've already talked to staff. They know what the schedule is, and they're going to set that closing date based on the existing schedule. That's normally how it works.
All right. Any other questions for Marseille for discussion amongst the members?
Yeah, I do. Are we setting time as well?
That is up to you all. Someone had suggested, and I did not take that into the calendar yet. Someone had suggested maybe going a little bit later, but then others were concerned that later might be harder. Just because if you go to one, you really have a little longer agenda. And while we're on the topic, as of November 15th, the temporary change to the Oklahoma Open Meetings Act has a sunset clause, and it will have expired. And so after any meetings that we have after November 15th will be held in person. So you'll have to go back to coming into City Hall for November and December. well, from here on, unless there's talk that they might end up reinstating it, but it wouldn't be till February. So at this point, that is something that we need to decide this evening. You want to meet at 6, just keep it at 6 and drive as fast as you can to City Hall.
I mean, I know 6 can be difficult, but I do think if we're going to go to once a month, the meetings are likely going to be longer as well. So that's going to push it back later into the evening. So I think for me at least, 6 o'clock is still the right time.
As it stands, we would keep the first meeting of the month as scheduled previously. We would not put the second meeting of the month on the calendar for 2021, and we would keep the time at 6 p.m.
Is everybody good with 6?
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion on agenda item number 3?
I'll move approval to approve the meeting schedule with starting time at 6 p.m. beginning January 2021.
I'll second.
I'll second it. Craig Bowman.
Go ahead.
All right, let's vote, please.
Leon Davis, Yes. Craig Bowman,
Yes.
Travis Fulkerson,
Yes.
David Randolph,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
John West.
Yes. Other business. Marseille, is there any planning updates you need to give us?
The biggest one was just to let you all know that we'll be meeting in person anytime, any scheduled meetings after November 15th. And so I'll actually get to meet all of you for the first time. And 9 months, so that's kind of crazy, isn't it? And then the other, we did have a good meeting with the, on the UDO kickoff. I think I've talked to you all since then. I talked to Commissioner Randolph today. He still asked if he could submit any comments. I said, sure. For the next week or so, I could take anything and go ahead and submit it to House of Levine. Otherwise, we're moving forward and had some really good conversations. If anyone is interested, I talked to Commissioner Brown several months ago about excuse me, the implementation committee for the Horizon Jenks, and have some ideas on how I'd like to move forward with that also. So if anyone wants to speak on that, I know you all are extremely busy in your personal lives, but if you are interested, let me know, and I'm happy to send you more meeting requests.
Can I ask just a logistical question? You know, assuming the Open Meeting Act change expires and we are required to meet in person, I'd be interested in some sort of social distancing, just so I don't infect all of you. So I've got a kid in daycare, you know, but you know, has there been any discussion or plans about how to meet in person, assuming that that's what happens?
Yes, currently we have council chambers set up, so there'll be 5 people behind the box, and then we have 2 tables, so 5 people would sit up here and 2 down here. It is spaced 6 feet apart. We also talked about some other provisions. That would be up to you if you still wanted to wear a mask or not wear a mask. We talked about maybe some partitions. I don't know that it would be necessary now, but if you do have those concerns, let us know in advance so that we can talk about it. It's pretty well 6 feet apart. So your space would be sanitized, of course, and you would all be separated at least 6 feet. The podium would still be available. I would probably, I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll come to the podium. Maybe I'll just, I don't know. But the public would come up here. I still have plenty of room on both sides of me that I'm not in contact with anyone. And we've pretty well been doing Usually like, at city council, there'll be 3 or 4 staff members behind the box or the wall, but at that time, everyone generally wears a mask. So it's really up to you all what you feel comfortable with. We can't do anything about the requirement. The state law is what it is. And if they say we have to meet in public, then we do. And we have to have at least 4 members every meeting to have quorum and to make these decisions. So I definitely want to hear from you if you have any concerns about that.
Okay, thanks. It seems like we should just kind of see what happens at the state level, and then if it becomes more clear that we're going to meet in person, those sound like good guidelines to me, but, maybe we can all give you comments then, but okay, thanks.
That's a good question. I should have answered that. Thank you. I think that is all I've had. I will tell you, the project that you voted on, the Red River development, was approved at city council.
All right. Are there any other questions for Marseille? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Meeting's adjourned.
Good night,
All
all.
right. Thank you.